please. I don't want to have to carry you back into heaven.
I don't want to be carried. So.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you're all here. This is a good crowd. We've been a little bit small the last few weeks, and that's okay. So we're going to do a few different practices, and then after that I'm going to give a talk that's supposed to encourage you, and that'll be it. So, has anybody never meditated before? Okay, good. That's normal. So I do like to give the instructions every time, even when it's people that I know have gotten the instructions before. It just helps to remind myself and to remind others, I think. So go ahead and sit up as straight as you can. And I've always found that if I start to slouch, my mind starts wandering and my back starts to hurt, and it's just unpleasant. So it always helps to, once in a while, just know, oh, I'm slouching, and then straighten myself. So that's what I tend to think about. It's really important to have a straight back. When I used to teach kids how to meditate, I would tell them to pretend there was a string holding up their back straight, and that's kind of creepy now that I think about it. But just keep your back straight or your back's going to hurt eventually. And I like to do an eyes open practice. That said, though, if you'd like to meditate with your eyes closed, I do think that's okay. But what I do is I have my vision, my gaze a little bit downward, so I'm looking at a part of the floor that's not very interesting, so I won't get distracted. I've found that if I meditate with my eyes closed, I start imagining things, but I know everybody's different, and a lot of people really love to meditate with their eyes closed, so I do think it's okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my attention right there, that spot on the floor right there. And let's see, back. So I sit in the half lotus position, as you can see here, which is just a foot on top of my knee and the other foot tucked underneath. And that makes it so my feet don't fall asleep, so I really like it. But that being said, those of you that are in chairs, what I would say is just have your feet in one place on the floor and try not to move them. Just kind of firmly plant them on the floor. And the reason for this, and I'll say the same thing when I talk about what to do with our hands, the reason for this is if we don't have a plan for what our parts are doing, then it can be a point of distraction. We can fidget very easily, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So hands, I have two different hand positions I recommend, and one of them, I call it the bowl, but people that are into fancy terminology, they call it the cosmic mudra, which I think is ridiculous, but it's just hand on top of hand, thumbs gently touching. So we don't want to be like this, we want thumbs gently touching, rested in your lap. And some people attach a lot of importance to what hand is underneath what hand, but I don't think it matters. And then that's one position I recommend. The other one I recommend is just, it's called relaxation, it's just hands on your knees, just like this. And I think both of these are equally good, whatever works better for you. It's just, again, the point is to have a plan, because if we don't have a plan, then it's very easy to start fidgeting. I'm a heavy fidgeter, so I need strict instructions for myself. So we will begin with are there any questions about any of that position stuff? Okay. We're going to begin with a practice called the healing breath. And it is a very slow breathing exercise. It's designed to kind of separate us from our day-to-day life and bring us to a different space for the meditation. And what the healing breath is it's a very slow, we breathe in for a count of 5, and we hold our breath for a count of 5, and then we breathe out for a count of 5. We do that 3 times. So I'll show you. It looks like this. So, and I really like that as a bookend for meditation practice. And then it's also a portable practice that can be used anytime. If I'm struggling with something, if I'm stuck in traffic, if the kids aren't listening or whatever, I can center myself. I can just say, okay, I'm going to do a healing breath, and I'm going to think more clearly in this frustrating situation. But it's great as a bookend for meditation. So we're going to do that 3 times. So I'm going to instruct you. Go ahead and breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. So now we're going to do the practice that's called mindfulness of breathing. And that was to prepare us for this practice we're going to do. And what I want you to do is bring your attention to your breath that's entering and leaving your body. It's something that's happening all the time, all our lives, but we don't pay attention to it unless there's a problem, really. So that is what makes it a helpful anchor for our meditation practice. So I want you to, there's two versions of this, and one option is you bring your attention to your nose, to the air coming in and going out. And the other option, if that's very difficult, is you can bring your attention to the way your belly rises and falls. And we're not going to try to manipulate our breath. We're not going to try to breathe very slowly or anything. We're just going to pay attention to it. And what I want to invite you to do is what's called the practice of counting. And that is, on your next in-breath, mentally note 1, and on the out-breath, mentally note 2. And that way, every time something comes into your mind to distract you, every time you hear a sound and you think, what is that? Or you think, what am I doing after this? Or why am I here? We just go back to 1 on the next in-breath. We don't beat ourselves up when we lose track of the meditation. We just go back to 1. So we're going to do that for a few minutes. Just in 1, out 2. In 1, out 2. And we will do that for a few minutes, and then we'll do another practice. So and don't beat yourself up when you struggle, when you are distracted, or when you're very distracted and you're bringing your mind back to your breath again and again and again. Just go back to 1. 1 is always there to go back to, and that's what's really good about it. It's always there to go back to. In 1, out 2. In 1, out 2. Now, I want to invite you to release the breath as your anchor, and we're going to shift our attention. And we're not going to move. I'm going to keep the same position, but we're going to shift our attention and do the practice that's called just sitting. So instead of using the breath as our anchor, the intention is we will not have an anchor at all. We will just try to be fully present with our experience and just notice everything that's happening. So when I hear whatever that sound is, I just notice I hear that sound. And I don't want to go in a train of thought and start thinking, oh, what is that sound? When is that sound going to stop? But rather, just hear the sound and just notice I'm hearing a sound. And the same, if I have a daydream, just notice I'm having a daydream, but not get carried away in a train of thought. That's the intention. And we'll do that for just a few minutes, just trying to be fully present with our experience and not get carried away with any thoughts or memories or dreams. would like to invite you to do the healing breath with me again to close our meditation practice. And we'll do it 3 times again. So go ahead and breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Thank you all for being here. Are there any questions or comments about those practices we just did?
The meditation without the anchor seems to be a slightly more advanced technique. Do I have that impression?
A lot of people find it very difficult. Yes. So the intention is that the following the breath gets us kind of to a more stable place, so we're ready for the effortless or formless practice. So I like to give little talks at these. So I have a little talk prepared, and this talk's called "Here's the Thing About Meditation Practice." I could have done better, but here's the thing about meditation practice. Like anything else that's designed to make us better people, we are going to get out of it what we put into it. So when I first started meditating, I did what maybe a lot of people do, where I just did it when I felt like it. When I was inspired to meditate, then I would sit down and meditate. So what did that lead to? Not doing it very much. So I didn't do it consistently, and my practice was very rare, and that's a habit I fall into very easily, and that's sort of why I created this elaborate situation where I have to do it. I can't get away with not doing it because I'm here. So I found in that period when I didn't do it consistently, and when I fall off the wagon, when I don't do it consistently, I also don't get a lot out of it. I don't feel more mindful in my life. And I think a lot of people, they just start and they do it a couple times and they don't do it very consistently, and so they quit. I think it happens a lot. And that's why, because people just do it a couple of times, then they feel like, oh, I'm never going to be good at this, so they quit without really giving themselves a chance. We want results, and the truth is, even when you start to feel like you're more mindful, more compassionate, more aware in your life, even then, still not doing it's very tempting, because we're sort of addicted to not paying attention and not being fully present. So I'm going to tell you what I do, and I would encourage you to try to do something like what I do, but I wouldn't shame you if you don't. But I would just say that what I like to do is I put the kids to bed, and then I meditate for 10 minutes. And I do that at home, and then I come here and I do a longer practice, and it kind of supercharges my practice because it's a longer practice here. So if you're able to do it at home, I do recommend that. I like to do it. I put the kids to bed and then I do it. I think first thing in the morning and at night before bed are the best times, just because there's the least going on. And I also think that just 10 minutes makes a big difference. So if you can do that, if you are able to meditate at home, to find a place in your home that is not chaotic, which is hard for some of us, but a place that's kind of clean and kind of quiet where you can do it. And it also does help to do it in the same place every day, rather than just, today I'll meditate in the library, today I'll meditate in the living room, today. Rather than that, it helps to have the same place over and over. It's sort of, we don't notice when it's happening, but we have these neural pathways in our brain that if we are in this place where we meditate, it kind of gets us a little bit ready beforehand, because subconsciously we know to expect to enter these states. And then, so if you can meditate at home, I think that's very good, and then you come here for a longer meditation and some encouragement. And if you want to just do it here, that's okay, but I think we're just scratching the surface of what we can accomplish, because if we meditate a little bit, then we're going to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit more relaxed. But if we meditate regularly and a lot, then we can transform our lives, and that it can make a big difference. So next I want to talk about obstacles to our practice, and I want to know if any of you have ideas for what are things that make meditation hard. And if nobody wants to speak up, that's okay. I've got a list here, but I'm wondering if anybody wants to share what makes meditation hard.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just experiencing tonight. Because of multiple sclerosis, you never know what's going to happen with your body. And I usually meditate sitting up. I used to, before I was symptomatic, I sat like you do. But that's become difficult. And now I have noticed that anytime I have my legs bent, my foot falls asleep.
Oh.
So my left foot kept falling asleep. So what are your feelings of if you just, like so with my legs up resting on my ottoman or something?
So two things. One is, do you think if you lay down you'll fall asleep?
Yeah.
Okay, I always do when I try to meditate laying down. So then the second option is, next time let's put a chair in front of you. You can put your feet up. That's okay. I think that's not a problem. Put your feet up, definitely. Feet falling asleep is a terrible problem because it's going to take all your attention, right?
Like I said, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So.
Just a little note, because I have not knee problems, but at home, if you put your feet on something, make sure that it's at a downward angle from your body instead of straight out.
Okay.
Because then you'll have the same issue, the blood flow. So you'll want just like a.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Not so much an obstacle to the routine, but for myself personally, when I first started meditating about a year ago, I was doing it in short 5-10 minute intervals using the various apps that are out there. And I did this for a period of about a month or two, and I didn't notice anything changing about my ability to be in the moment, my awareness and mindfulness. But when I jacked that up to a solid 20 or 30 minutes of practice, the benefits were phenomenal. I don't actually have any data to support this as a widespread phenomenon, but if any of you find difficulties with making progress, maybe try meditating for longer periods of time.
Can I ask you, based on what you just said, and you said you do guided meditation, which do you prefer?
I'm still a novice, so I do prefer the guided meditations, but I'm pretty confident I could do it on my own if necessary. And the mileage may vary.
Yeah. So I don't use anything when I'm home. I just am sitting. I don't use any sort of app or anything. That said, it's not. I don't judge those things.
I hadn't used one just because I didn't thought anything of it.
Okay.
I think using a timer has helped me as well. I use just Insight Timer, which is a nice gong sound. Otherwise, if I don't use it, if I don't have my timer, then I'm thinking, okay, is it?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
how long have I been?
You'll tend to think, oh, I've probably been sitting for 30 minutes, and then you look, 8 minutes, great. That'll happen. We sat for 30 minutes tonight, by the way, if anybody, including the instructions, so really like 26 or 25 minutes. Okay, so I just want to talk about a few things that are obstacles to practice that I think people have sometimes. And one is what I call making deals, and that is when we tell ourselves, oh, I should meditate today, but I'll meditate longer later instead of meditating today. And the thing about that is you're not going to meditate longer later, right? So that's a thing a lot of people do, and that's the thing I do anyway. And then another thing, and I really struggled with this in the beginning when I first started practicing, I call it seeking perfection. And that is just, I would meditate today, but I'm tired, or I'm having a bad day, or my imagination's really active, or whatever, just waiting for the perfect day to meditate. That's not going to work. And that was the thing I really struggled with. I really wanted the perfect day to practice when I've had enough sleep and when I'm not thinking about all sorts of things, but I don't think that's real. So, and then another thing is just sort of losing sight of what we're doing. So this is meant to improve our lives, and if we start to think of it, if we don't think of it in that light, if we start to think of it as a chore, then it can be really, really challenging to keep doing. If we just think, oh, I gotta go meditate. We don't want to have that attitude if we can help it. So what we really want to have is a belief that it's something good that we're doing for ourselves. And some people like to use the word faith for that, and I think that's a really loaded word, and I think a lot of people have baggage around that word. So I just want to say a belief that it's doing good for us, that it helps us to live a more meaningful life, and that being present in our experience is a good thing. If we have that mindset, I want to be fully present. I want to, when I talk to someone, I want to be able to just pay attention to them and not be daydreaming so I'm not paying attention. So if we have that mindset, we can start to take the practice more seriously. And when we take the practice more seriously, then that's when we're ready to put down our shit and really be real and really be here. And often in life, we don't even know when we're not present, and that's part of our problem too. And I've found it in my meditation practice. I kind of know, and so it seems bad because I know, I'm not present very often, but that was true already, right? I'm just bringing awareness to that. So we can start to see this practice as time well spent. And I wanted to ask if any of you have things you think you need to help yourself have a regular practice. I think having the routine of coming here is what helps me. But does anyone else have ideas of what they might need that would help? And if not, that's okay.
Well, I second the notion that routine is paramount. Having a consistent time and place that you do it. There is a particular technique for forming habits and accomplishing goals. It's the acronym SMART. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. A good goal has all of those aspects. Specific, when, where; attainable, something you can accomplish; measurable, so how long you do it. You have to have methods for measuring how if you're improving. Attainable, something you can actually accomplish. Relevant, something that actually is relevant to your goals. And time-bound, having an actual having a routine idea, like how often you're working to the routine or the goal. So that's helped me a lot. If that helps anyone else, SMART.
This is only sort of related, but I have heard, I don't know anyone that's really done this, but I have heard that there are people who decide they want to start meditating, and then they just decide, I'm just going to do it an hour every day, right away, and then those people overwhelm themselves and they fall apart because they didn't set a reasonable goal.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm going to start exercising. Well, you don't start by running 5 miles.
Well, right, it's the same thing. People try to do that and they have a tough time.
I have to find time. I do so much stuff.
I don't even know what the word for that fallacy is, but I think New Year's resolution fallacy is a good one.
Yeah.
That's the same principle why people's New Year's resolutions never work out. They just jump straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
I set reminders for myself. Like, I'm aware of when I need to leave my house to be to work on time, but I still have a reminder on my phone that goes off that says, leave ASAP at a certain time. I have reminders that pop up on my work computer of saying, hey, it's about that time, you need to take your 15-minute break just so you don't get overwhelmed with work. When I need to prep stuff the night before to get ready for work, I have a If I do it, then I turn the reminder off, but just in case I don't do it, I have that reminder. And it's not because I'm forgetful, it just helps me be in the moment of knowing this is something that needs to be done and you need to make sure you do it. So I find for myself, setting little reminders helps me remember to do stuff.
Just having something to signal to you, stop what you're doing. I
I'm
have,
sorry. I was
No,
gonna say, I
go
even
ahead.
know what my process at work is every day. I still make myself a written out to-do list, and as I do each bit of my job that I need to, I check it off.
I have, okay, so at work, I have Microsoft Outlook on my computer, and I have the calendar. There's the calendar there, and I put things in there. So while I don't set timers on my phone, but I have the calendar, it'll tell me, hey, in 15 minutes you have a meeting. Oh, okay. So that's sort of the same. Okay, so I guess we're finished. So I want to thank everyone for coming. I have a sign-in sheet, and there's a donation bowl over there. And if you feel compelled to donate, you can. But if you can't donate, then please don't. But if you can, then do. Yeah, that's it. I'll never charge for this, but I do pay for this, so I will take donations. Thank you.
Can I give one more
Yeah.
thing that I do? I bring Buddy. I bring her to these when I'm at home. I talk my husband or my kid into meditating with me.
Accountability and
Yeah,
support structure.
exactly.
Oh yeah, everybody, homework. Bring a friend next time.
I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to get comfortable doing things alone again. So,
We are not meeting next week.
okay.
My daughter has a concert, so I won't be here. So
So we're meeting at the concert.
yes.
What's the
Hopper
date?
Grove Middle School. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. Come back.
Okay.
Do you want to just meditate at your house next